Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Mel Hauser. I use she, they pronouns. I'm the executive director of All Brains Belong. And welcome to Brain Club. Let me share a screen, get us oriented to our conversation. Today, we are continuing along with our Brain Club Greatest Hits 2025, where we revisit themes of the past year and maybe have another perspective on them as time evolves. So, today we'll be looking at the theme of finding community, in particular, finding this community. Before we begin, closed captions are enabled. You just have to toggle them on at your end if you'd like to use them. Depending on your version of Zoom, you might see the live transcript closed captioning icon. If not, choose the more ... and choose show subtitles. You can also choose hide subtitles if you want to turn them off. If you're new to All Brains Belong, this is a great first time to be here. We're a nonprofit here in Montpelier, Vermont, supporting the health and belonging of people with all types of brains, and we do this in several different ways. We have medical practice, we support people through social connection and education like this. And so you are invited to be part of the ABB community through your participation in Brain Club. Marine Club is our weekly education program for purposes of demonstrating our approach to neuro-inclusive culture for intention to shift broader community awareness of the issues of concern and importance to the neurodivergent community, at least our neurodivergent community, and to promote new ways of thinking and being in the world, with the idea that then you take it forth into the rest of your lives, and that's how culture change happens. And I just hit a button. I've been doing that a lot. Everyone is welcome here at Brain Club. Brain Club's for neurodivergent people and those who support neurodivergent people, people who are exploring their neuro identity, and anyone with any type of brain who wants to learn about neuro-inclusive culture. This is a place where we provide education and information. It is a place where we model new ways of being in community through panels, guest speakers, and book chats. It's a way to provide a better way to understand neurodivergent experiences through the stories of our presenters. And for many, this is a way to feel less alone. It's a place where we criticize systems that make it difficult for people to get their needs met and bright spot alternatives. This is not a place for medical advice or addressing personal medical questions. It's also not a support group or a place to address individualized needs. It's a place where you are invited to come and to learn and to think about how what you're hearing applies to you. You are welcome to use the chat as we go. That's what the chat looks like. We just ask that if you're going to use the chat, we ask that you limit your questions and comments to the content of the panel. For example, sharing what a panelist says impacts you, or validating other people, or asking questions. And we ask that you use the big box, the main box here, to rather than the threads, because that bounces the chat and can be really overwhelming to many brains. So big box for the chat. There are multiple ways to participate here. You can have your video on or off. Even if your video is on, no one expects anything of you. Feel free to walk or move or fidget or stim or eat or take breaks. You are welcome. We probably will have time for discussion at the end with mouth words, but throughout, you're welcome to use the chat. And observation is a valid form of participation. This is a program where we really think about the group's collective needs, and we facilitate accordingly. So we invite you to listen, to learn, to check it out. Lizzie's going to put some resources in the chat. If you're new to Brain Club, just keep coming back. It might take several times to get the hang of things. Lizzie's going to put some frequently asked questions in the chat. Thank you to our sponsors, Limelight Restoration Services and Encore Renewable Energy. Couple of announcements before we get going. We are halfway through our You're Not Alone campaign here at All Brains Belong, where we're raising awareness about our culture and our mission and all the things, as well as raising funds to support free programs like Brain Club. Lizzie's going to put a link in the chat. Oh, you did already, for anyone who has capacity to support, who has not already. We also welcome you to join us for our fourth annual virtual New Year's Eve solidarity event. It's a celebration, but you don't need to be celebrating. Just a place to not be alone on New Year's Eve. So this is a virtual event with live music and activities for all ages, and you can just show up however you want to, and it's free. And there's a link in the chat. During New Year's Eve, we will have, as I said, live music. We'll also have a community brain club that folks will be sharing what they learned about their brain this year. So, we welcome you to join us. All right, here we go to our topic, finding community. This is our Brain Club Greatest Hits menu for the month. Here we go. So finding community. I have a couple slides, and then we're going to watch a pre-recorded video. Some of you have seen this already. If you attended our fourth birthday party, we're going to watch an excerpt of that video tonight, and then we'll have time for discussion. So loneliness is a public health crisis. We know that chronic loneliness activates all kinds of harmful impacts on the body. And we know that, for example, social isolation has the equivalent impact of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Autistic and ADHD people have higher rates of social isolation, and this is across all age groups. Why is it hard to find community as a neurodivergent person? Well, there's lots of factors. One is our threat detection. Many, if not most, members of our community have had, significant social harm happen. And so, as people even consider approaching other humans, there's the involuntary automatic threat response. Much of this relates to living in a culture where there are neuronormative expectations, as well as all kinds of barriers, whether that be, physical, including to the immune system. When we think about the neuroimmune conditions that the majority of our community experiences, this is going to impact not only the energy that someone has available for interaction, but also how do we stay safe? How do we make sure we don't get COVID or get COVID again? And so when we don't feel safe, when we are not safe, you literally can't do anything. So with that, we're going to hear from two slides worth of panelists tonight. Lizzie Perrett, Sarah Knutson, Dr. Gabe Borzella, Linda Riddle, Olivia Tyler, Dr. Winnie Luby, Dr. Laura Lewis, Amy Noyes, David Brazier, Summer Stelter, Anya Kalani, Steve Owens, Rai Webaloki, Simone Arnold, Sarah Wilkins, Sierra Miller, Bruno Schreiner, Sin Graham, Liz Carney, Connie Beal, Amy Reddy Wertenbaker, Weaver Goldsmith, Deborah Ann Pinstoff-DePillis, Paul McAleer, Nita Hansen, Blake Sturkey, Dr. Peter Bingham, Suzanne Richmond, Jay Green, Matt Mulligan, Monique Francis, and Aspen Cupper. Here we go. Except I never click the share sound button, so we're not quite ready to go. Let's try that again. All right, so this is the story of our past 4 years of All Brains Belong as told by our community members.
Happy birthday, ABB! An amazing human, Mel, told me about her dream, a place where everyone could come just as they are, and together we dreamed up the name, All Brains Belong.
Welcome to All Brains Belong, Vermont. It's a kind of an interesting place because it is a doctor's office, even though it doesn't really look like a doctor's office. And it's also where people can make friends.
Also an opportunity to meet others in the community who are going through the same or similar things, which then gives us the opportunity to learn from each other's experiences and to really value and feel valued by each other and feel a lot less alone and a lot more hopeful. And so it ends up feeling like a community more than a medical practice.
Some people ask me, hey Mel, why did you quit your perfectly stable job to start a nonprofit organization and try to change the world? My answer, how could I not?
what's normalized is the dysfunction of the system. It's
Yeah.
like, yep, this is just the way it is. We're just going to keep
Yeah.
doing it.
The system just doesn't listen to the people. It doesn't believe them.
Nobody believes you. Healthcare is designed for you show up and they send you places and put you in little cubbies and folders.
I can just feel when I walk in, I don't know if it's a safe space for me.
It's reasonable to expect that you're going to feel safe when you go to the doctor.
People went into a provider to seek help for something going on, and they left feeling like they now had two problems. The first being the same problem they went in with to begin with, and the second being the added stress and burden of being invalidated and dismissed and gaslit.
There's got to be a better way to do this.
I knew how to be a doctor, but like I did not know how to start a nonprofit, run a nonprofit, run a medical practice. But what I did know is that in order to make an impact and improve the lives of neurodivergent people, you had to change the world. So like to do anything for the neurodivergent community, you had to do everything. It's not just healthcare. It's loneliness, it's school, it's work, it's everything.
I came to ABB because I suspected I was autistic. And then when I found ABB at Fox Market, it was just All Brains Belong Vermont. And I just knew in the moment, like, this is for me. And I had no idea, like, even what it was yet.
I raised enough money to pay a couple months rent and buy some insurance. So then I just started like seeing patients like in an office by myself. The day before we opened, we didn't have any furniture. So I posted on Front Porch Forum. Someone offered a recliner. Well, you gotta start somewhere. So I go pick up the recliner. I tell the person what I'm up to, and she's like, "Oh, you need to come with me." And we drove across town to where her sister had lived, and her sister had just passed away. My sister would love what you were doing. And she and her family loaded up all this stuff in their trucks, and they drove back to Montpelier with me to our office. I sent text messages to like everyone I knew who can help unload a whole house full of furniture. When? Now. And that was our move-in story to our first office at 250 Main Street, Montpelier.
Reading the website, so oh, this sounds pretty good. And then when I started filling out the forms, I was like, wow, this is exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for. And then I sent you my mind maps and my emails, and I think other doctors would have been just overwhelmed, but instead you were like, oh, this is so cool. This is so helpful.
When I was sitting in the waiting room for my first appointment, there was this a really short book written for kids, and it basically told my life story of losing it. I remember reading it, waiting for my first appointment, so sort of losing it and having these public meltdowns that I was so ashamed of. And it explained those things in terms of the fight-flight response. It looks like these people speak my language.
The thing about being neurodivergent is that we're often feeling like we're not part of anything.
It's so lonely out there when we have a lifetime of it and we're not able to find connections that can fulfill that or even have someone help explain it.
Internalized ableism that arises, and the person who you're talking with begins to look over your shoulder subtly and wonder whether there's somebody else that would be a little easier to talk with. Or the accumulation in the individual autistic person's experience of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these types of things does lead you in some subtle, almost unconscious way to begin to believe that you're broken.
It's hard to ask for help. You've been dismissed for so long. You're told so many times that it's not, you don't have an issue. It gets to the point where that voice becomes your own.
I have been taught externally to believe that about myself, and also taught to refute that in order to keep surviving.
Too long have people felt like they don't have a right to community, and I think it's important to change that narrative. And
ABB was needed for all the sweet little loves to learn about their brains, and to know that there's absolutely nothing wrong with them, that they are beautiful and deserving of a world where they can thrive.
To have a conversation with my own kids about the system is broken, it's not your brain. Being able to have that conversation, that's a gift.
Impact of these sweet little loves, having this foundational understanding will impact the rest of their lives.
Hi, I am Spencer, and this picture I made the Mega Mushroom from Mario represents all brains belong, because really all brains belong, and I honor that.
So before we launched, my board of directors was like, Mel, yeah, I can't do all the things. My PDA raged. Like, just watch me. But those first few months were intense. Like, in the office till 4 a.m., all every night. Turns out, it's pretty hard to do all the things.
The beginning of All Brains Belong was bananas. ABB identified, many, many needs in the community and worked so hard to address those needs and support people. We were very fortunate that we had a lot of people who stepped up and helped out and volunteered and really worked together as a community.
I think one of our first game changers was the decision to hold a neuro-inclusive COVID vaccine clinic, open to the whole community within our first couple of weeks of launching. This was a chance for the general public to see how truly simple this radical concept really was.
We all have different brains that think, learn, communicate, do things differently. And yet many things in society have a default, and vaccination clinic is an example where the default thing is to get your vaccine in a crowded, large group environment. But for many brains, that does not feel comfortable.
Who best benefits from this type of a vaccination clinic?
Everyone.
We had kids who traveled from all over the state, and while many were able to access vaccination, some were not. And we still wanted to support families.
I think it's reframing what success is. Yeah. Success is not always just getting the vaccine. Success is, wow, you recognized when you didn't feel safe. Good thing when people have a positive healthcare experience. I formed some sort of memory that wasn't awful.
There's no ease in that pathway for a lot of our nervous systems right now because there has been no autonomy, because there's been no agency, there's been no freedom and choice.
We realized we had to start talking about these concepts. We had to give people language for their experiences.
Let's talk about some lid flipping.
Flips their lid once.
Yeah, or twice, or like a million times.
400 million
400 million times.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that some people think that they're the only ones who flip their lid?
Did you know that? No.
Oh no. Some people think they're the only ones, and then they feel bad about themselves because they think they're the only one.
For a lot of people, this is the first time they've seen that there's other people like them.
What was healthcare like before ABB?
Challenging and difficult would probably be the best words. I've had things where they don't know what's going on and they just kind of shrug their shoulders and don't know what to tell you.
I would get these sort of odd, mysterious rashes or odd, mysterious symptoms.
So I knew a lot about autistic health when we launched, but I'd say the biggest surprise has been all the things. So by way of introduction, we have a pattern here, as many of you know. More than 70% of our practice has this constellation resulting in significant disability. It's like Google Maps when you're zoomed in so far, you don't even know what continent you're on. You gotta zoom way out. This is a big system of everything being connected to everything.
When we first started ABB, we didn't realize we were going to become all the thingsologists. And
seeing that not just neuro-inclusive care was important, but care for these complex chronic conditions that people have often had for decades without having providers knowledgeable about them or able to identify them that really impact their daily life.
Coming to ABB, where there's already such knowledge of if you have this, the likelihood that you have something in the other constellation of the everything is connected to everything. You have a higher likelihood of having something of these other things. So let's just see what we're working with.
Autistic people are at a higher risk of developing complications from COVID-19. In this week's Health Watch, our Christina Gesford sits down with a doctor who says she's witnessing the pattern firsthand.
A lot of different symptoms show up in the different systems of the body that were fundamentally neurologically related.
Long COVID, and other medical issues. It's very common, but it's also things that should never be ignored.
This is affecting the entire body. This is affecting the brain. This is affecting our economy and our world.
6 weeks into launching All Brains Belong, I slipped on the ice and landed on my head and got a mild traumatic brain injury. I have myalgic encephalomyelitis from my head injury. ME/CFS I had before COVID, and COVID just made it worse. So, and now all of a sudden, I have the medical problems that my patients have. The ABB model would have been different if I didn't have all the things and wasn't actively learning from the rest of the community.
We started doing group medical appointments and really quickly discovered how important community is in improving people's health and daily lives.
Understand fully what was happening as it was happening until I left and was filled with this sense of capability and empowerment, that I wasn't alone. I'm not deficient or bad or incapable. I learned from everyone in the room, and that's community, and it's community designed by community.
By elevating the value of lived experience, this has allowed us to learn about how to provide better medical care. It's different from how the mainstream healthcare system is doing it.
For example, if somebody has chronic pain, they often get put on muscle relaxants, which if they also have sleep apnea, because connective tissue is collapsing on itself in the airway, that's going to make this worse.
Completely mind-blowing. What do you mean healthcare can be like this?
Is this opportunity to be heard by other people and seen? And there's just something kind of magical about that.
And we are integrating that community connection into medical care, employment support, helping people arrive at a deep understanding of their access needs.
What I often see is once people feel safe and once people have been cued safety, they're able to engage in community. And that's when we really see these kind of healthcare jumps for people. We see, people come to group visits and learn from other people and have that shame reduction of, oh, it's not just me dealing with all these things. There's other people who believe me, there's other people who are like me, and get really quality medical care.
And what All Brains Belong is doing, which is a radical and gorgeous and utterly necessary model, is reclaiming the commons, reclaiming the community, reclaiming the wisdom of every person who's spoken already today.
And we really became a community health village of learning and healing together.
As we grew, we recognized how important it was to develop a culture of impact where we are intentional about our program design, that we are getting feedback along the way, and that we're measuring our intended impact. Brain Club has gotten really big, and we have to really zoom out and say, what's the point? What are we trying to achieve? And what does a co-created public-facing community education program look like? Like, I've never been to one of those. I don't know.
Recommitted to what the space is, which is a classroom space.
In a collective way, actually operationalize neuro-inclusive culture. It's easy to say, oh yeah, we're neuro-inclusive. What does it even mean? And what does that look like?
2025 has been a challenging year to say the least. And We've seen our community is under threat and many are struggling to meet their basic needs. And we've been so proud and grateful of how our community members have taken care of each other.
Each of us in the ABB community benefits from being a member of this community, and the health of the community as a whole is vital to the health of each of us individually. Now, the community is at risk, but we're not helpless because we have each other, and with each other, we're stronger. And I want us to be as strong as can be. That's why I'm supporting the ABB Health Access Fund.
The Community Health and Access Fund is really special. I love being able to have somebody in the office for a visit and recommend something that they wouldn't otherwise be able to access, and being able to be like, hey, the community's created this fund, and it's amazing to do it in this really non-hierarchical way. It's a fund that the community that you belong to has created.
So that's the story of the past 4 years. Here's what we've learned along the way.
For just addressing the things that are in the scope of a traditional medical practice, we're missing the biggest factors in affecting somebody's health.
I burned myself out over and over and over because the systems I created, I couldn't break out of my, I was so masked, I didn't even know I had needs.
And I felt inadequate or not enough that I find it harder to ask for help. I feel I have to, I'm ashamed. I'm
Like amazing and blows my mind that ABB is working on taking the initiative to work on creating employment opportunities for people in the neurodiversity community. That is like so fundamentally connected to my perception of health and well-being. It makes me feel like I have a future.
Boost and NESP and all these employment programs that you put together, that I started going like, oh, wait. And then just like validation, being able to start saying what my access needs were, was like, oh, I still have this skill. And not only do I have this skill, people in ABB are saying you could actually help people.
I'd be in these group visits, whether it was a regular medical group, I was in Boost, which really helped me for my own business. But that was where I really figured out how ADHD plays. It's like, what do I avoid and what do I love to do? And I'm not the only person who has this list. And like, it was just amazing. I think that's my bottom line in the group. I'm not the only one, XYZ. It's like, oh, thank you.
It's the idea of when you recognize that you're not broken and you're not alone, that shift is what makes everything else possible.
Practice is really developed in consultation with patients, and like we're in these advisory groups and invited to join them. Practice develops is informed and driven by what we say in those meetings, and basically informed and driven by patient needs.
All of our programs here come based on feedback from our community advisory boards. Probably the best ideas around here come from kids.
I said, hey, how do you think we can make kids feel like they belong? And without any hesitation, this sweet little love says, you just let them do what they love. That's it? Turns out, yeah, that's it. So we started bringing kids together based on shared interests.
The organization's become one of the most important things that I'm involved with. The organization has a simple mission, and that is to improve the lives of people across the neurodiversity spectrum. And what this organization does is it focuses on ways to improve their lives through healthcare, through community programs. One program that they call Kids Connections. This program connects children that have had a difficult time for one reason or another making friends. The most powerful anecdote I have heard about this program is a story where a 10-year-old child shared with their parent that this is what it feels like to have a friend.
I flew to Vermont to meet my friend from Kid Connections. We had a lot of fun with this week. It's nice having somebody that likes the same things that I do.
One of the differences that I'm sure the medical center where I work could learn from ABB and the example is just healing together and community, and that's kind of the way we humans are evolved. So
when we really think about community, we think about bringing people together based on shared values and a shared vision of what's possible.
I think the solution to the sort of individualistic society and the external and internalized ableism is like connect with other people who can validate your experience and say like, hey, you're not alone in this.
Two community members that, you know, I consider friends that I hang out with now, and it's unbelievable how, you know, how validating it is. You have a shared language and shared experience once you've delved into all the the brain club topics and have started unlearning all the garbage you got earlier in life. You can just be yourself, and it feels good.
Of the gifts that All Brains Belong has given to me, and I think so many other people, is a common language based on common experience that we didn't know existed before.
Yeah, I'm not alone in that particular journey. It's helping to hear other people share.
And when we can see ourselves reflected in the stories of other people, we become more okay with ourselves.
Part of why I'm really enjoying being a part of all this journey is because the kernel of what you're doing feels so common sense.
Showing up authentically and having other people also show up, and over time, and not even over time, like it happened pretty quickly. Like people show up and you're like, hey, let's be authentic. And they're like, I don't know how to do that, but okay, I'll hear you out.
I didn't feel like I could talk about myself in any kind of deep way until I got involved with ABB. Really. I mean, it spoke to me immediately as something that, like, you know what, Wendy, you're going to be 50 something. At some point, you're going to need to be authentic with people.
Needing to live in a way that is different from a lot of other people is that it's so important that I now have a community of people who I can say, you know, I really have a headache today and I'm really tired. And I think it might be because the weather just changed. And other people will say, yes, me too. I am also having a weird, bad day because the weather changed. And I can feel like, okay, it's not just me.
This idea of I opt out of trying to interact with quote community because community is unsafe. Community is expecting me to not be authentic. I can't safely be authentic. I'm being rejected for all that I am, so I opt out of this. I think that's really common in the All Brains Belong community, which is why I think it's like it feels really radical. Like, why, like, what do you mean I'm gonna like interact with other people? Why would I do that? Other people suck. Anyway, what has been your experience of meeting others in the ABB community?
Really wonderful. I think that all of us have so many things in common and also so many unique things that make us us.
What do you think ABB's role is in supporting neurodivergent people?
I actually think it is the community aspect of it. And that's really where I think most of the like healing and growth happens.
In the 5th group appointment my doctor gave to me, community. Help for all the things, access needs, letting go of shame, and validation and privacy.
Like the most valuable part for me has been connecting with people who have similar experiences, who can relate, who can give me their own experience and what has helped for them. And also, like, I know that if I were having a hard day or I was really lonely, I could put that in the chat and someone would show up. One person from ABB has come to my apartment and helped me change my bed sheets, which was like, sounds so small, but I literally can't change my bed sheets by myself. And so to have someone be willing to come do that and there'd be no judgment.
The affirming nature that comes from ABB helped to give me the permission to be me, you know, and it's makes me feel like my life is so worth living.
Supporting people in all these ways and trying to change those systems, like change medical care, change workplaces, try to have like the surrounding community actually be a place that people can access and get their needs met.
I think ABB is a radical movement against oppression, both within and outside of the healthcare system.
Beautiful thing to be able to talk about our brains and share our experiences and build a better world.
I don't have to make eye contact. I don't have to behave any particular way.
No pressure to have a conversation unless you want to have a conversation.
I can do what I want to do. It's an environment where that's safe. With ABB, the pressure to appear the right way just isn't there.
I'm usually quietly in the background observing, and I find I'm really taking in the message that Mel sends out a lot about observation being a valid form of participation.
This community and all of the work being done here just gave me so much to lean on and not let it sink me and let it make me feel really bad about myself or my child or my parenting or my partner. It instead made me feel like, well, you don't get it. And I moved on. And I'm so thankful for this group because that would not have been my reaction before ABB.
ABB is sort of like, there is this kind of social justice, like you are not the problem. The problem, we have a world that needs changing. Instead of like forcing people to change or like getting in people's face about change, the approach is just to show people that it can be done and do it really well. And that, I just think that's just such a beautiful model and a beautiful way of like creating the world you want to live in.
It's always hard to find words. Thank you so much to all of our panelists for sharing your stories and helping to tell the story of this community coming together. I would love to open up for conversation, either in the chat or out loud, around what it has been like for anyone to find that there are people who share similar things to your experience. Hi, Sierra.
Hi. One thing that I thought was really cool tonight was seeing people from so many different parts of All Brains Belong as an organization that does so many different things and so many different types of programs and different ways to kind of support community, and seeing how people in all these different roles, whether it's like a board member versus a patient versus a brain club participant, everybody's kind of talking about the same things of finding that community, which is really cool. And seeing that it is universal design and like offering things in multiple different ways for what people need can really work, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, it's as somebody watching the video, you may not realize like there was just as many patients as non-patients in that video. Yeah, Terry, I'm glad you're here. And we're hoping that even if certainly we hope that that everyone who comes to Brain Club has the experience of connecting with other people through Brain Club. And we certainly we welcome you to keep coming so that you get to know people who come to Brain Club regularly. There's lots of people here tonight who have been coming to Brain Club for 3-4 years, and it may just take some time. Anne. Go ahead, Anne. Are you frozen? There you go. Uh-oh, your sound disappeared. Uh-oh. I can't hear you. Do you want to type? Well, while Anne's typing, love to invite other comments to anybody who wants to share.
If I could add while Anne's typing to what you were just saying, Mel, I think about All Brains Belong as like a igniting spark a lot of times. And that for so many people, it's kind of experiencing community here and then being able to kind of bring that out to the rest of their lives and connecting with people in the community outside of kind of these structures. And I think that's a really, really cool thing and a really exciting thing about kind of how this can grow.
Well said. Yeah, and I think that what I hope that someone who comes to Brain Club gets, and Sarah's describing this. One of the things I find so helpful about Brain Club is hearing other people share their stories, because I don't always have words for my experience until I hear others name the thing. Like that is a direct connection with All Brains Belong. This is what it is. And I'm glad you're all here. And so with that, next week concludes our Brain Club Greatest Hits of 2025, where we'll be talking about transformation. Oh, Lizzie, can you put January's registration instead? I think probably the folks here are signed up, are all set, but the idea being to sign up for January, since next week will be the last one of December, apart from New Year's Eve. But next week's Brain Club is actually a greatest hits of 2023 through 2025. I think we merged like 16 different Brain Clubs. So we look forward to sharing that with you next week. Abigail says, my speech pathologist suggested me to try ABB, and I've been regularly attending Brain Club every Tuesday since October. What I took the most out of this so far is all the education and learning on various aspects, but most importantly, I felt not so alone or an outlier, and I can see what could be possible, and it's quite motivational for me. That has made my day, Abigail. Thank you so much for sharing. Anne, do you want me to read that out? It went just to me. You took the time to type it. Yeah, okay. Anne says, I'm so thankful for you and your group. Thank you is not even a big enough word for what you've created. The lives that have been touched by this work cannot be measured. Forever grateful. Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you all. I'm so glad you're all here, and I hope to see you next week. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.